I'm going to discuss how to obtain a green card through your family members who are either citizens or permanent residents of the United States. The most common category is the immediate relative category. Anyone who is the spouse, the child, or the parent of a U.S. citizen, and when I say parent, I mean the U.S. citizen has to be at least 21 years of age or older, is qualified to be an immediate relative. In this category, there are no numerical caps. So if everybody in the United States should marry a citizen from the other country, assuming they're not already married, all those people would be able to immigrate to the United States immediately. Most people are not that lucky to be in that category. They're in a preference category that's numerically limited. The number per year who can get green cards are 226,000. Each country, and it's the country of birth, not country of citizenship, is limited to 7% of the total. The first preference is for unmarried adult sons and daughters of U.S. citizens. What's the difference between a child and an unmarried adult? The adult has to be at least 21 years of age. Under something called the Child Status Protection Act, if you sponsor the child, which means you petition, it's an I-130 form that you file for that child, the day you file that petition, that freezes the child's age. So if you file for a child the day before his 21st birthday, and now he's 22, his age is still considered 20 for purposes of the Immigration Act. Over 23,000 people are able to immigrate under this category each year. Now, what if you're only a permanent resident? Who can you sponsor? Well, you can sponsor your spouse, and you can sponsor unmarried children under 21 years of age under the 2A category. Almost 88,000 people can immigrate under that category, and the good news is that this is not subject to the per-country limits. At least 75%, or 66,000, don't have to worry about the per-country limitations. If your children are older, and now they're adults, over 21, they're in the 2B category. And in the 2B category, there are 26,000 visas per year, and the 7% rule per country applies. So countries like Mexico and the Philippines have huge backlogs, which we're going to talk about later. Now, if you have married sons and daughters, whether they're minors or over 21, they're under the third preference category, and there's 23,000 visas per year that they can qualify for. And then finally, if you have a brother or sister who wants to immigrate to the U.S., you can immigrate your brother and sister and their families under the fourth preference category. But because a lot of people have a lot of brothers and sisters, my wife from the Philippines applied for all 8 of her brothers and sisters, so you can imagine the backlogs. Only 65,000 people per year are able to immigrate under this category. So let's talk a little bit about waiting times. Each month the State Department puts out something called the Visa Bulletin, and we post it on our website between the 10th and the 15th of the month before, so you know what the waiting times are going to be, and if your relative will be able to immigrate during the next month. The waits range from a low of 2 years to a high of 23 years for a brother or sister from the Philippines. But the waiting times are a little deceiving because the Visa Bulletin looks backwards, not forwards. So it tells you if you applied 23 years ago, your brother and sister can immigrate now. It doesn't say that if you apply now, it'll take 23 years for them to come here. So let's look at one horrible example of long waiting times. Mexico and the Philippines under that 2B category, the adult son or daughter, unmarried, of a U.S. permanent resident. Since not more than 7% a year can be from one country, when you divide 7% into the 26,000, you come out with 1,841 green cards per year. But when you look at the total number of people waiting, there are over 200,000 Mexicans and over 50,000 Filipinos on the waiting list. So how long are the real waiting times? Well, for Filipinos, it's over 28 years. And for people from Mexico, it's really never. It's 115 and a half years. So really, there's not even a point in applying under that category. So in our next video, I'm going to give you some hints about how to shorten up these waiting times. The first one is if you are a permanent resident, let's say, and you're sponsoring your spouse and kids, and they might have to wait years outside the United States, maybe the smarter strategy is to naturalize and then immigrate them as immediate relatives, which may only take a few months. And maybe you're in another category and your child is going to get a divorce or going to get married or something like that. It might totally switch categories and may be able to save them time in coming to the United States. Another strategy is, let's say you have a parent who's a citizen and a brother who's a citizen. Maybe you want both of them to apply for a green card for you and just see which comes in faster. Make it a horse race. Also, there's something called alternate chargeability. So I have some client from Mexico and I'm immigrating him through employment, but his wife is born in France. So instead of using Mexico as the country of chargeability, which has a long waiting time, I use France and we speed things up. I've talked a little about the Child Status Protection Act and how it freezes kids' age at below 21, but there's many other features of that act, which we'll talk about in our next video. And we'll talk about other ways. Let's think outside the box. You can sponsor somebody through family categories, but why not think about employment categories? They could qualify for a green card through their job, or maybe through investment, or maybe through the visa lottery. Got a lot of good suggestions, so stay tuned.